Superheroes are known for their incredible superpowers. The Hulk transforms into a seemingly unstoppable brute, Professor X uses his keen intellect and powerful telepathic abilities to manipulate the world around him, and Spider-Man slings his web into the sky in order to fly through the bustling cityscapes. But every superhero has their kryptonite. It grounds them and makes them that much more relatable, but they're not always as obvious as you might expect. And in this video, we'll be exploring some of your favorite heroes' lesser-known flaws. Here are 10 weaknesses you didn't know superheroes had. And if you're surprised by any of the weaknesses on this list, make sure you slam that like button, subscribe to Screen Rant, and join the notification squad to stay up to date with all of our videos. But first, can you guess the name of this superhero based on these emojis? I'll give you a hint. He was played by Michael Jordan. No, not that Michael Jordan. A different Michael Jordan. In a recent, not so well-received reboot. Stay tuned for the answer at the end of this video. Wolverine, the Muramasa blade. Born in the 19th century, Wolverine has had a long and often difficult life. Born in Canada, he spent his early years employed as a fur trader by the Hudson's Bay Company. He lived through 2 world wars and was even imprisoned in a Polish death camp. Throughout his life, many theorized on how he may eventually die. Drowning would probably suffocate the hero, and Professor Xavier himself suggested that cutting off Logan's head would theoretically block his reproductive capabilities. However, as we saw in a 1987 issue of The Uncanny X-Men, Wolverine was able to regenerate from nothing more than a drop of blood. Well, I guess that throws a wrench in Professor X's theory. But what you may not know is that there was once a sword specifically designed to kill the Wolverine. It was called the Muramasa blade and was created by infusing Muramasa's soul with a blade of a katana. The blade made its first appearance in the December 1988 issue of Wolverine Volume 2 and was wielded by the Silver Samurai, who was chosen as its fated master. The blade seriously impacted Wolverine's ability to regenerate, with a very minor wound taking 2 days to heal. Thankfully, the blade missed his vital organs, or that might have been it for the old knucklehead. Wonder Woman's Bracelets of Submission. Wonder Woman has long been an important feminist symbol. She emerged as a popular superheroine in the 1940s and has been an inspiration to the feminist movement ever since. While Diana doesn't have a kryptonite, her one main weakness throughout all of the different incarnations of the hero is that she's more vulnerable to piercing weapons like arrows, bullets, or spears. So you may be surprised to hear that the original incarnation of the hero wasn't so feminist-friendly. Her creator, William Moulton Marston, was a psychologist, inventor, and early advocate for women's rights in addition to his very successful foray into comic book writing. But he had a bit of a strange fascination with bondage that worked its way into the original Wonder Woman comics via the hero's initial 2 other weaknesses. First, if she lost her bracelets of submission, Diana would lose control of her own strength and go into an uncontrollable rage. Secondly, if her bracelets were chained by a man, she would lose all of her superpowers. Yikes. This particular weakness has been partially debunked by fans pointing to examples of her being chained in the same fashion by women, but thankfully, these weaknesses have been cut out altogether in the modern incarnation of America's guardian angel. Daredevil, Flavorless substances. The fearless hero of Hell's Kitchen, Daredevil, made his first appearance back in 1964. Since then, the Blind Bastion has enjoyed a decades-long run in various comics. He was also portrayed by Ben Affleck on the big screen and has most recently been given a well-received TV reboot on Netflix. Matt Murdock was blinded as a child when a truck carrying radioactive material crashed into the young man. With his sight taken away, his other senses were heightened, and he achieved radar vision that allows him to see the world around him by listening to it or feeling it. But his source of strength is also his greatest weakness. Since his senses are so strong, they're also incredibly sensitive. The sound of rain softly falling on someone's face allows him to see their subtle features, but a large explosion or even an extreme odor can overwhelm the hero and immobilize him completely. But in one case, the opposite approach was used in an attempt to subdue the hero. In Daredevil Volume 2, Issue 5, written by none other than Silent Bob himself, Kevin Smith, Murdock is drugged with a flavorless, odorless substance that causes him to lose his sense of reason. Since he trusts his heightened sense of taste and smell, Daredevil can be easily fooled by a drug designed to be imperceptible to those senses. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Green Lantern, the color yellow. The Green Lantern is a superhero, or should I say superheroes? Either way, they use rings imbued with super abilities to fight crime across the galaxy as the Green Lantern Corps. The series has gone through several iterations, including the infamously bad 2011 film starring Ryan Reynolds. But it's the 1959 Silver Age incarnation of the hero that saw the Lantern face his strangest weakness: the color yellow. The Rings of Hal Jordan and his crew were imbued with a yellow impurity that made the heroes vulnerable to anything, that's right, anything, yellow.
I know that humans aren't the strongest species, or the smartest.
The writers must have quickly realized how ridiculous this weakness was, as it was later toned down. Once the true nature of the yellow impurity was revealed, it became known as the parallax fear anomaly, which meant that the ring bearer's vulnerability to yellow was only effective if they felt fear. So not only does Hal have a real susceptibility to yellow, but he must have a phobia of it too. Thankfully for him and the rest of his team, the yellow impurity was removed altogether in later iterations of the series. We'll see if the threat of yellow makes a comeback when the Green Lantern returns to theaters in 2020. The Human Torch, Asbestos. Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, is the hot-headed, flame-wielding youngest member of the Fantastic Four. He first appeared alongside the rest of the gang in the very first issue of the Fantastic Four, published in 1961. His greatest weakness may be his own disobedient attitude, but in addition to that, he requires oxygen in order to keep his firepower from extinguishing. Just controlling his flames in the first place takes intense concentration, and special attacks can quickly drain him of his energy. However, in a 1963 story arc in Strange Tales, we learned of an odd weakness that wasn't even known to Johnny himself. Asbestos Man, a wannabe supervillain, challenges the Human Torch to a fight. Johnny doesn't think much of it, but when he comes face to face with Asbestos Man's suit made of flame-retardant super asbestos, his powers are rendered useless. That's right, the Human Torch's powers were countered by a chemical that used to be found in every American home. In fact, the appearance of Asbestos Man was later attributed to the recognition of asbestos as a dangerous chemical, which led to it being phased out of common use.
Why are you destroying our planet?
So, in addition to humiliating a comic book superhero, this goofy supervillain may have inadvertently done a whole lot of good for the average person. Iron Man, alcohol. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been kind to Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of the augmented engineer is arguably the most cherished in the MCU.
Yeah, I can fly.
So it's understandable, albeit disappointing, that the bigwigs at Disney might want to meddle with the hero's portrayal. For the 2013 sequel Iron Man 3, director and co-writer Shane Black originally sought to include one of Tony Stark's lesser-known weaknesses: alcohol. The subplot was based on a 9-issue story arc first published in 1979 called Demon in a Bottle, in which Stark faces his very human battle with alcoholism. In an interview, Black stated, "We were just told by the studio that we should probably paint Tony Stark as being kind of an industrialist, and a crazy guy, or even a bad guy at some points, but the Demon in a Bottle stuff of him being an alcoholic wouldn't really fly." He went on to say, "Alcoholism is a massive problem, but it's also not the best villain for a movie. While it's understandable that Disney may have wanted to suppress this particular plot point, it's problematic when you take into consideration the big screen Stark's cavalier relationship to alcohol."
Not a great plan.
He can be seen drinking in plenty of scenes, but his self-destructive use of alcohol was never fleshed out on screen. If Disney really wanted to teach viewers about the dangers of alcohol, it would be more constructive to show Iron Man overcoming that weakness, instead of just sweeping it under the rug. Green Lantern, wood. We're not done with the Green Lantern just yet. Did I say yellow was the hero's strangest weakness? Because the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott, had an even stranger one. Scott was created by writer Bill Finger and artist Martin Nodell and made his first appearance in 1940. Nodell was inspired to create the character when he saw a green railway lantern in Wagner's opera The Ring of Nibelung. But that doesn't account for the original Green Lantern's odd weakness. His ring protected him from most any form of weapon, except anything that was made of wood, which he figures out when he is unceremoniously bludgeoned with a wooden club. There is a reasonable argument for this weakness. His ring was imbued with green energy, the same energy as plants that grow out of the earth. So it makes sense, in a twisted comic book logic sort of way, that green energy can't turn against itself. But if that were the case, wouldn't the green energy in Scott's ring cancel out the green energy in the 2x4, and the 2x4 would cancel... whatever.
Shazam!
Captain Marvel Jr. can't say his own name. Despite being a member of the Marvel family, this superhero was originally published by Fawcett Comics before being acquired, along with the rest of the Shazam squad, by DC Comics in 1972. He may be named after the most popular superhero of the 1940s, but he's not in fact Captain Marvel's son. Shazam Sr. saved the teenage newsboy, Freddie Freeman, from the evil Captain Nazi and gave him his superpowers. When Freddie says the magic word Shazam, he gains powers based on each letter of the word. S for the wisdom of Solomon, H for the strength of Hercules, A for the healing abilities of Apollo, Z for the power of Zeus, A again, this time for the courage of Achilles, and M for the speed of Mercury. But with the courage of Achilles also came a major Achilles heel. Captain Marvel Jr. is completely unable to speak his own name. If he does, he's instantly transformed back into the helpless Freddie Freeman and loses his powers. You have to imagine that this cut back drastically on the mini Marvel's catchphrases and one-liners. Heck, the easiest way to defeat the hero would be to simply invite him to a party and ask him to introduce himself. Yeah, get it? Power Girl, all natural elements on planet Earth. First appearing in 1976 in an issue of All-Star Super Squad, Power Girl is the Earth 2 equivalent of Supergirl. She shares a similar origin story with the ever-popular Superman and Supergirl. She was born on Earth 2's version of Krypton just before it was destroyed. Like Supergirl, Power Girl is blessed with a number of heroic powers which she uses to protect Earth 2. She has super strength, X-ray vision, the ability to fly, and of course, a trademark caped costume of her own. She also shares her counterparts' weaknesses, such as a susceptibility to magic and, of course, kryptonite. But unlike Superman and Supergirl, Power Girl is only vulnerable to the kryptonite from her own home planet, meaning that the kryptonite in Earth 1's universe doesn't affect her. Unfortunately, she has bigger problems. Despite this incredible invulnerability, Power Girl is easily brought down by any natural occurring substance on Earth. That's right, wood, dirt, water, presumably even the air itself renders Power Girl completely defenseless. You have to wonder if this is really just a strange weakness or an actual plot hole accidentally created by the writers. Thor's hammer. Thor is the hammer-wielding Asgardian god of thunder based on the mythological Norse deity of the same name. In the MCU, Thor is played by Australian star Chris Hemsworth. Hemsworth has already appeared as Thor in 5 MCU movies, with Thor Ragnarok coming out later this year and 2 Avengers Infinity War movies coming out in 2018 and 2019. He is a powerhouse hero from Marvel Comics and has been ever since his first appearance in 1962. His laundry list of superpowers includes berserker strength, dimensional manipulation, flight, super speed, and even the ability to teleport. But in the original comics, Thor had a major weakness. If he released his grip from his hammer for just 60 seconds, he would lose all of his powers. His hammer would also be stripped of its abilities. This creates a number of continuity issues with the original comics. For one, he doesn't carry the hammer around with him when he's disguised as Donald Blake. You have to wonder if he stashes Mjolnir in his suitcase so he can give it a quick pet every 59 seconds or so. Plus, Thor has been seen throwing his hammer around on multiple occasions. Well, thankfully, the 60-second rule was scrapped long before Hemsworth helmed the role. Well, there you have it, our picks for 10 weaknesses you didn't know superheroes had. And the answer to today's emoji trivia question is the Human Torch. Which of these weaknesses surprised you the most? Were there any that you didn't know? If you did already know all of them, let us know which ones we missed down in the comments section below. And as always, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and join the notification squad for more great videos just like this one. Thanks a whole bunch. See you later.